All right. Well, good morning. Our next session will be presented by three folks from the Western Piedmont Council of Governments in Hickory, and they're presenting on the Burke County Quality of Life Explorer. And they are Taylor Dellinger, the data analyst, and Duncan, who is the, what is your title? Transportation planner and data analyst. And then Todd Stroop, our handy GIS technician who makes everything work. And we hope you enjoy.
All right, thank you very much. Everybody had a good morning? Didn't party too much last night? And you got one more night to party, so. All right, we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about the Burke Quality of Life Explorer. I'm going to go through phase one of the project, which is mostly data collection. Duncan's going to go through phase two, which is kind of putting all the data together. And then Todd's going to talk about phase three, and hopefully if the internet works this morning, we'll show you a live demonstration. So let's go ahead and get started. Phase one, and kind of what was the overall purpose of the project. Now you might be thinking it's the cool Burke Quality of Life logo there in the bottom corner, but it's not. It's really supposed to use data to make better decisions. And you've been hearing a lot of that throughout the conference, how to use data to make better decisions. So in this instance, the idea is to use data for analysis to improve the outcomes for Burke County residents. And that's what the Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust, NC Healthy Places, is all about, is using the data to make better decisions. So we're trying to improve things like physical inactivity, identifying existing places to live, places to be active, improving access to healthier food. So where are the farmers markets, community gardens located at? So maybe if we have gaps, we can add more of those. And then disease prevention. And Duncan and Todd will get into a little bit more of that in a moment. First thing we had to do, it's like, this is a big project. How are we going to handle this? So we got to start collecting data. You're going to make planning decisions, you got to have data. So you can see it's a pretty expansive list, but when you think about quality of life and health of residents, there's a lot that goes into it. So we just started collecting data from all sorts of federal, state, local sources, whatever we can get our hands on. So you can see the list there. We got churches and schools. Burke County has over 200 churches, by the way. We had no idea. A county of 80,000, Burke County size have many, but they have a lot of churches. Things like WIC, SNAP approved, grocery deserts. That's anything outside a mile of a grocery store defined by USDA, generally has 3 aisles and has to have frozen food and produce section. So Dollar General does not count because it doesn't have produce. But that was not enough. We needed more data. So we collected more data. We got multimobile, chronic disease, commuting patterns, and of course lots and lots of census data. Then public input. So we gathered all this data and we're like, well, let's let the public look at it. And one thing I was really happy about during the process was we got community engagement. So we asked them, do we have it right? So one lesson that we learned is do not trust Google Maps implicitly. Google does make mistakes, and the public told us about that. Oh, by the way, I had sneak in a picture of Todd, our handy map maker. He made map after map after map after map. So that's why he looks incredibly exhausted in this photo.
There's about over 80 maps in that pile there that were distributed to various locations for public input.
And we got a lot of public input. We received over 200 comments. So we said, don't write on the maps, but tell us what you want changed. So we're going to show you a sample here. And they told us lots of things. Change this name. This is correct. Did you add the cookout on Highway 18? Don't forget about where the cookout is. Do you know where the school is? And do you know where the football field is? Do you know where the walking track is? So it was really, really helpful. People got really engaged. However, the number one comment that we received, and I think the logo tells you, where is the Taco Bell in Eichert? They had a new one coming. We received 50 comments about this. It was very important to residents that we have that on the map, and it is on the map. Then we gathered all the data and we're like, yay, but then we're not done. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Duncan and talk about phase two.
Okay, since I'm a bit of a wanderer, I'll just put this mic on.
So phase two, what we really, as Taylor mentioned, our goal was really to develop this online mapping resource to make data available to all agencies and the public. We took the socioeconomic data that we got through the census, and we overlaid that with the chronic disease with the community asset data. So we're looking at, where are the parks in the community or in the county? Where are community services located, and speaking with the local hospital system to actually get those chronic disease rates. That's something that Todd was involved a little bit more in, but of course we had confidentiality agreements entered in between the COG and the hospital system to make sure that that data stayed confidential and anonymized to the census tract level as opposed to just the county level. So what we're trying to do is kind of zero in on different areas of the county, not just the county itself, and figure out where the greatest needs are, essentially. So that's all toward getting a handle on where the resource gaps in the community actually is. And And the good thing about it is because we had this ongoing dialogue with the hospital system, and of course the census data is updated annually, we can show changes in various measures over time, and that's kind of what the goal of the whole project is, just to see whether or not any projects that we're doing are actually making an impact, or where over time things are improving generally or things are not improving, and where should we target investments. We took all that information and kind of like Taylor said, we were out there verifying physical addresses, contact information. Some of that could be done here, at the office. Other times we had to actually be out there looking and making sure, doing recon, that these places were in fact where they said they were. And toward development of the tool itself, we made sure that we had individual internet addresses for each attribute that we were mapping. Say, for example, if it was a fast food restaurant or a hospital or a doctor's office, we would be able to have those links on the application for people to click on for additional information. So like Taylor said, about 184 churches, all the different SNAP retailers, about 100 of those, and gas stations, because that goes to food deserts, where are people getting their food if they can't access a full-service grocery store. And then from there, we created the new data sets. There were a lot, of course, and we had stakeholder meetings to help us determine what these data sets would be. Different demographic categories that we could get from the census, and various point data throughout the county that we could map as well. So parks and mental health facilities, for example. So we're trying to just not we're trying to take a holistic approach to health. It's not just physical health; it's mental health as well. And voila, we created the application, and it was basically organized into these categories. Community services could be anything from homeless shelters to women's shelters. Educational attainment in different census tracts, what's food access like in the different census tracts. And you can see on the map there are 18 census tracts within the county. So again, trying to kind of zero in on different areas of the county and see where the greatest needs are. Recreational assets, transportation, because again, it all sort of fits together in terms of access to healthcare and improvement. Of course, we had challenges along the way when we were entering the disease rate data from the hospital that we got. We noticed that there's some anomalies in the chronic disease rates in 4 of the eastern tracts in the county. And we basically were able to determine that a lot of the patients in those census tracts were actually traveling to adjacent Catawba County to get their medical services. So rather than display that incomplete data and provides, kind of misleading information, we opted not to display that data at all, and just say that essentially that information isn't available or not available. So here are the tracks here, if you're familiar with where Burke County is, and in the eastern section, we opted not to display the disease rate data for those census tracts. But we do have all the other data, census data, all the point data for parks and shelters and schools and educational attainment, all of those are still mapped. But you can see it's fairly easy access for folks in the eastern areas of the county to get access over to Catawba County, where the two major hospitals are located, Fry Regional Hospital and Catawba Hospital there. Well, along the way, we did complete 3 detailed analyses. We're looking at disease rates and educational attainment in the different census tracts that actually lack the play spaces and the farmers market. So we're trying to piece together the different data sets that the tool actually offers and come up with tangible products that nonprofits can use or other entities that are interested in applying for grants for targeted health improvements in the different census tracts. And we did another analysis where we looked at health and quality of life, strengths and weaknesses in each of the census tracts. And Taylor developed a health risk index that was based on demographic, health, economic factors for all of the census tracts. So it's not just gathering the data on our side, we're actually making reports from that and distributing that information to nonprofits in the county and of course to KP Reynolds, who funded the project. And for phase 3, we did a lot of outreach, and for that, I'm going to turn it over to Todd.
Okay, so going into phase 3 from phase 2, one of the biggest components of it was we had to be out there in the trenches in the county with the different nonprofits and various people who could potentially be using the Explorer to potentially make solutions for potential problems. So we met with like 12, 14 different nonprofits, and we went to their offices, and we did several on-site training sessions, and then we kind of tried to run them through different scenarios on how they could use the data and the application for their purposes. So these were a lot of people who they were intimidated by the product, so by the application. So we tried as best we could go in there and kind of get them a little bit more comfortable with the application and so forth, and then create those aha moments that we can use this, or we can potentially use this for our nonprofit needs. So this was also one of the unexpected benefits of this was we would go in there and ask them what type of data would benefit y'all that y'all would like to see on this application. And there was, let's see, some of the stuff that they wanted added to it was where the pharmacies were, where shelters are, where and then just more census type data like vacant housing and male and female sex populations and stuff like that. Oh, here we go. Here's a list of through those interactions with the nonprofits. Like I said, we would ask them what data they wanted, and this is a more complete list of what that was. Okay, so also going into phase 3, so to give you a little bit of history on the initial start of this product was KB Reynolds. They wanted to map the 5 chronic diseases of cancer, diabetes, COPD, kidney, and hypertension, and just try to see where the population or the chronic populations are within Burke County. So what had happened is we met with the hospital. It was Blue Ridge Healthcare then. It is what now? Atrium. Yeah, the hospital changed ownership several times. So we met with them, and then we had several conversations about data sharing and how we were going to use the data and how we were going to display it on the app. And so basically, that was like 2014 we did that. And so we mapped 5 years worth of data for each disease, and it took several several months to do all that. And going from in the summer of 2015, the hospital changed the diagnostic code system. So all that work we had done the first time had to be scrapped because for future data accuracy, we couldn't add the new years to the old data set. So we had to create a new base year, or base averages for the years 2015 to 2017. I see that. Okay. So just some nonprofit and data updates. This is an ongoing major focus because, I mean, you know, we're all GIS people, professionals. We all know that data management is very important because it can get old real quick. So one thing that we do is we do an annual data update where we go in there and the 50 or 60 layers that are in the application, we go in there and verify addresses and just location information and stuff like that to the point data and the census data and stuff like that. And then explain, then to do more on-site, in-person tutorials kind of things, because the point of the application was we made it for the people within Burke County to make decisions, and so that's why we were trying to hit the nonprofits harder with the application and stuff like that. So and then opening up conversations with neighboring counties, that's more focusing on the two health systems and hospitals in Catawba County that Duncan had mentioned, to try to get their patient data so that we could fill the eastern part of Burke County with the chronic disease stuff. Okay. So in 2018, the application received the NADO Award, and I'm about to pull the application up and show y'all it real quick. But if anyone's interested in accessing it yourselves, you can go to our organization's website, which is wpcog.org, and down in the lower left corner, below the community and regional planning services button, there's a button that says Burke County QOL Explorer. You can click on that, and that will transport you to the application. So, and then I'm going to just show it to you real quickly. I don't really have a whole time to do a lot of a big demo, but here we go. Okay, so basically when you go to it, it just shows the outline of Burke County, and then all the 50 to 60 layers that we had to create, and the ones that we update, they were organized in data groups that Duncan had mentioned, like community, sources, and recreation, because like the point of the application is just it's just to show the assets, or one of the major points of the application is to show where the assets are in Burke County and try to identify gaps and so forth. So by just clicking on a few layers, you can see where things are located and not located. But and we have all park locations, and Burke County now has a transit system that we put in there. And so here are the chronic disease rates. They're rates per 1,000. And I'm just going to click on, let's just do cancer. So so you can quickly, so the eastern part of the county, where it says NA, those are the 4 census tracts that we had insufficient data for. And like Duncan said, we didn't want to show that because it didn't show the complete story. But you can just kind of see like right here, this 6.92 right here, 6.48, you can kind of see that there in Morganton, those census tracts have more people that have cancer per 1,000 people. And then also at the same time, we have a lot of census type data So you can just go in there and click stuff and click the layers off and on and help maybe answer some questions. Like right here, we'll keep cancer on, and then we'll go down here and click on poverty level, and you can see if maybe there's a correlation. If there's a higher population of people, of a higher cancer population, is it because maybe it's also poverty-stricken areas? And then also you can go up here and click on, grocery store locations, and see that like down here, and we call this the South. We call this census tract down here the South Mountain area, and it's pretty. All the rates are pretty high for this particular area. And if you went through here and clicked on the layers off and on, you would see that they are missing a lot of the assets that a lot of the other census tracts have. So right off the bat, you can quickly see that there is a gap down there, and maybe certain nonprofits could shift their focus to this particular census tract and maybe try to create or try to put some infrastructure in there that could maybe potentially help out people's health and so forth. Yes, I know we're running out of time, but I guess that's about it. I know that was really quick, but anybody have any questions? Yes.
Have you considered adding public utilities as a quality of life indicator?
The question was, have we considered adding public utilities to the application? And to answer your question, we have not considered that yet. Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm doing some research on that here in Winston-Salem. Because we provide public utilities, but, that could be a quality of life indicator. That's why.
Right. Yeah, so we have, I think that there's been several different types of focuses. Like when we first started this, the big focus was chronic disease, and that's still a very important topic. But we've had several conversations with different people about how can we use the application to address opiate and that type of stuff. So to answer your question, is this thing's always evolving, and we're constantly adding data to it to help different people's needs and so forth. Yes, sir. Okay, so this product was just created uniquely for Burke County because that's where we received funding, and we worked with the Burke County Health Department closely with this in the beginning, and actually in the beginning we worked with I don't really want to call it a steering committee, but just a group of people who would come in and we would show our progress with them. And we worked with like the school system, and we worked with there's the community college in Morganton, Western Piedmont. We worked with them, and then we also worked with local like town and city managers too. We just kept them in the conversation and kept on inviting them back to our progress meetings, and then they could give us feedback. And it was also a way for us to make allies in the county. If we needed something, we could probably reach out to them. It was just a way to build partnerships and so forth. Like we best we could, we tried to make this a community effort instead of just a Western Piedmont Council of Governments effort. Yes.
Was there a reason this is very big, I was a couple minutes late, but is there a reason why you kept the census level data or the census data at block group level, or at track level instead of going down to block group level?
Yes, I will let Taylor answer this question.
He's deferring to the data person. Okay, so the question was, why are we using tracks? Okay, the reason why we're using track level data, we do get 5-year data from the American Community Survey. There's actually a session across the way that I think they're talking about that a little bit. The block group data is so unreliable from the American Community Survey. There's so little sampling and the margins of error are really, really large. So for that reason, we just scrapped it. Even at a track level, there's still a pretty big margin of error on the data because they're only collecting it from 1 out of every 35 to 40 households over a 5-year period. So you always, in your data, you always have to think about how much sampling is going on and what your margin of error is. It's not just a strict 10% number. So some of the poverty stuff, it might say 20%, but it really is plus or minus 20%, so it could be between 0 and 40. So you have to be real careful about that. So we feel this level has enough reliability to show it in the Explorer. We're really hoping to get the patient data from the other 3 census tracts. And what that means is they've had interaction with the system with their chronic disease. So that's what that means. So we're actually going to be talking to 2 of the other hospitals in the region next week. Hopefully we can start getting some more data. That's our goal. There's always stuff to add, and I like the idea of adding the public utility. So maybe you can nudge Stephen over there and say, "Okay, can you give some public works data?"
Of course, that's when you're running into security.
Yeah, there's privacy, and we always have to be careful with that and HIPAA and all that. That's why it's that track. You don't see the dots. So thank you very much. I want to make sure you got time for the next presentation to start.